Greetings, Dr. Joseph Martin here for you. Zarathustra, or Zoroaster, or as we say in Persian, Zarathustra. He was the founder of Zoroastrianism, which is still a spiritual tradition on the planet, mostly in the Middle East, in Persia and other countries, Iran. Now, there's a debate as to how old this religion or spiritual tradition is. Diogenes and Heraclitus, the ancient Greek philosophers, thought that Zarathustra came around 6000 BCE or before the Common Era. But more recently, we think that he came 2000 to 1500 BCE. Well, who was this man in western Iran, in a little valley by a little creek? He was said to, at the age of 30, be a very competent individual thinker, and we'll get to this point very soon. And he was led by Ahura Mazda, or his good mind, actually Ahura Mazda means good mind, to a little bush. This is starting to sound familiar, and a creek and flowing water, and was shown the good religion, as it's called. Now I'm just going to pause right there because there's two things I'd like to point out. In the known history of our humanity here on planet Earth, which goes back to a long, long time ago, and it's just descending on us now. You can hear the lovely technology, which I'll get to in a moment as well, and discuss how the dark side of technology is actually creating a great amount of chaos for us on planet Earth. But back to the main point of 2 points. Number one, over millions of years that we've been here, before the Neolithic, before the Paleolithic, before those ancestors, all the way back to Polaria, Hyperborea, Lemuria, Atlantis, and now the 5th post-Atlantean age that we're in. There were individual thinkers, and this is the importance of self-reflection and independent thinking and critical thinking, which all my videos are inspiring you to have. Don't listen to the planned amnesia of schools or education institutions or organizations. When you go into your inner mind, which is in your heart, you will find critical awareness and knowledge and wisdom that is ancient and timeless. Now, there were many Buddhas and great spiritual teachers who were enlightened before Zoroaster, most of them lost in the annals of the unconscious, the history of time, and I will attempt at some point to bring some of those forward from Lemuria and Atlantis. However, in this video, we just want to point out some commonalities. First, there's in the history of human evolution for the good, there's really been about 20, 30 individuals, men and women, who've attained spiritual mastery through higher spiritual consciousness by tuning in with their inner heart to the frequencies, and yes, it is frequencies of energy fields, of the highest spiritual consciousness. And such a one was Zoroaster. There are also obviously Jesus and Gautama Buddha, the latest of the Buddhas, and many others as well. Not too numerous to mention, although I've done videos on many of them. With Zoroaster, he was aware that the creator, Ahura Mazda, which means clear light, clean light, good spirit is what it means. This would be the uncreated spirit. This is before creation. So in a way, you could say that this was the main being, or the main energy consciousness of the universe, and obviously planet Earth. And this would be equivalent to good mind. Now, Zarathustra was also aware of the fact that there was another creature or being called Angra Mainyu, which means bad mind, bad spirit, who also was a demi-God, a demi-creator, if you like. Not the main creator. He was created by Ahura Mazda, but Angra Mainyu was definitely evil and hostile to all beings, particularly to human beings. Now, more of this in a moment, but just to say that this notion of the second point I want to make of the evil twin creators which we find in the Mohawk tradition, the good and the evil creators, and so on. We find it in all the First Nations indigenous cosmologies and mythologies of creation through Turtle Island here in North America, and indeed around the world. It's been a major study of mine and following Joseph Campbell. Now, it's clear from a particular point of view of authentic absolute reality that these dark figures who actually exist as energy fields with minds of their own are not the supreme creator, nor are they actually a twin creator. They are creations of the uncreated spirit. So Ahura Mazda at some point did create Angra Mainyu. Now, we need to understand cosmologically in the structure of the universe and the structure of the human personality that these forces, these beings, these entities, these energy fields, and yes, they are beings, not just thought patterns, they exist throughout the cosmos of the universes. So on all the other galaxies and all the other star systems, these forces of good and evil, they do exist and they have power. Hence, in our popular culture, we see it through all these archetypal movies, Star Wars, Star Trek, on and on and on, and even the Shield series that we have on TV and movies. These evil, good archetypal forces of opposition are shown in our popular culture, and these are the ones that we love the most, aren't they? And The Hobbit as well. But back to the main point, that the evil was created by the light in order to speed up human evolution and the evolution of consciousness throughout the universe, not just within the human mind and spirit. So Carl Jung, of course, has pointed out in the human side that we have a shadow, and he's brought that back to our awareness after thousands of years of being unconscious of the fact that we have a shadow. Evil thoughts in our minds, evil notions or feelings in our hearts, and it's up to us to choose to do something about it. Now, the gathas are the hymns that Zoroaster or Zarathustra put together, and they're all available yet now, and you can read them. And they're also yasnas, as we call them, which are the rituals, the ceremonies, or the service that's still conducted by the priests of Zoroastrianism now on planet Earth. And they're all, in all cultures of the world, we have some temples, fire temples as we call them here in Canada, and they're spread around the world. Now, what is the main purpose of the yasna, or the service of Zarathustra brought forward? Primarily, number one, it's to connect with the light, the supreme light, and to honor the light in a fire ceremony. Such as we have in Hinduism as well. We have our own fire ceremonies in Hinduism as well. These are revelatory, reverential ceremonies to align our consciousness and our minds and hearts and our spirits and our wills to the one light, and say we agree that we are put on earth and we have a reason for being here. And the reason is to understand humanity has a purpose in bringing together the good and the evil and transforming the two into a higher unity. And this is in fact what humans are doing when we are conscious beings, striving for goodness, striving for peace, power, and righteousness. I have other videos on that. And so this is a really important aspect of the service, or the yasna, of Zoroastrianism as a ritual. Another one is the final ceremony in the yasna ritual would be to offer things to the water. Now there's many reasons why. Water is the main element of our planet Earth. Water is what feeds our body, and we're over 80% water. And in fact, water is the most sacred thing. It's the womb of life. We're all born from the womb of water, but it's a sacred element tied to the feminine, tied to the goddess, tied to the earth, and tied to the moon, who pulls in the tides of the waters of the planet and pulls the tides of our consciousness and hearts and minds. So the fire and the water are the most important aspects and elements of the yasna Zoroastrian ceremonies. And this is partly the cleansing that we do internally. The fire ceremony that we use with our own meditations, and the healing waters that we use to wash through our auras and our astral bodies and our own bodies by drinking clear, pure water. These are symbolically, allegorically aspects of the cleansing. Now let's focus on the evil one, the evil creator, if you like, who destroys everything, who destroys the earth, destroys humanity, and so on. His name, again, is Angra Mainyu, however, more commonly known as Ahriman. Now, Ahriman is a term used for the evil one that's familiar to those of us in the last 200 years, as it's in over 40 books and movies and novels, but most importantly in Rudolf Steiner's anthroposophical teachings on the dark side of humanity and the evil entity called Ahriman. Ahriman's purpose is twofold. On one hand, you could say he's trying to destroy humanity by creating an over-intellectualization of our being and obliterating our spirit and our spirituality, obliterating our emotions and our feelings, obliterating the fact that we are a heart being, and obliterating the fact that we're a physical being. He's only interested in the intellectual process, and he wants to make us into logical, analytical robots with nothing else, just that, analytical robots, apathetic, bored, and actually doing the will of the Orwellian elites who control the planet. But make no mistake, any of the individuals who are lined up with this increased consumerism, materialism, technology, and a very nasty form of science, which I call anti-science, and not science at all. And please do watch my 2 videos on true science and true scientists, because in this day and age, only the wayward, I'll call them wayward scientists who are aligned with the dark side of technology and how it can and is destroying human nature and destroying the earth and all our relations. Now, Ahriman was very clear for Steiner that this process is evolving in an increasingly prevalent and embodied form on earth. And in fact, Ahriman, as an energy being, might eventually even take one human form, although it's pandemic in the collective psyche of the world at this time. And so what is the role of human nature and humans and humanity on planet Earth? According to Zarathustra, it's this. We have the responsibility that we need to take clearly and consciously to look at the good and evil in ourselves, in the society and organizations, and in the world and universe at large, and to make sure that we are respectfully, through our ceremonies and rituals, always doing healing, good, and righteousness on behalf of ourselves and the planet and the universe and the universal forces that are in opposition and conflict, and what we could call the spiritual war of all against all. It's in the human heart, one individual at a time, that this changes. And the history of the great people of our civilizations on Earth for millions of years has been just this. Individuals, one at a time, coming to the higher consciousness realization that they can make a difference and share the wisdom and knowledge with all other human beings, which is what we're all doing here on planet Earth at this time. Well, I hope this has been useful and important for you, even essential. Dr. Joseph Martin, Om Namah Shivaya, all my love and blessings. Peace.